They're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up? MCR family, another daily edition of the show. You know what that means. We're going to discuss all things boxing, MMA, and everything in between. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Obviously, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the channel in any way. Obviously, free stuff like hitting the like button, sharing the show. If you're listening on podcast via iTunes, obviously leaving a review helps. And, quickly shout out to everyone in the chat. Johnny, Aaron, Munoz, Rob, Wayne, Main Event Mark, Lord Jacob, and everyone that's going to be coming in later. Salute to you. Salute to all of you. It was yesterday, right? After the show, I was doing some more tape on Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter, the UFC 228 pay-per-view, which we're obviously going to preview. And I'm thinking, oh, man, it's going to be a good show, right? And then all of a sudden, Al Heyman decides, no, I gotta elevate your show just a little bit more, and decided to put out probably in a year of big TV deals, one of the more notable ones to say the least. So, I mean, you probably all know this already. You listen to the show. The news broke yesterday. We will discuss this before any of the fights because this is just massive. This is gigantic. PBC and Fox finalizing a 4-year deal for over $60 million per year. That is insane. I really don't know how else to put it other than to give you guys the details and then obviously try to break down a little bit more of it. It will be 10 marquee fights per year on Big Fox, and obviously shout out to Mike Coppinger over at The Ring for breaking the news. And now it's been all over the place. Wall Street Journal has reported on it. Forbes. I think even like the New York Times had a piece on it. Every mainstream magazine and publication you can think of in news has reported on this deal. And per the actual press release itself, Fox Sports and Premier Boxing Champions signed landmark media rights deal Fox Broadcast Network to air 10 primetime marquee fights yearly featuring the sport's biggest stars. FS1 and Fox Deportes telecast 12 fight nights annually. Plus, and this part's going to be interesting, which I know obviously some people are going to want to talk about. Plus, Fox Sports PBC pay-per-views and significant shoulder programming added. Yes, that evil word pay-per-view. This is obviously in conjunction with the announcement that they have a Showtime deal. That's not gone. I know a lot of people are a little bit confused, more maybe casual fans. I'm here to try to explain it to you. The Showtime deal, which per Forbes article, is worth around $60 million plus as well per year, will have at least 12 events per year. The PBC on Fox deal, again, worth around the same amount, $60 million plus per year for 4 years. The Showtime deal is 3 years. That would be around 20, obviously 2 events per year on top of the additional pay-per-views, however many that might be. Yes, this is sort of, like I said, the bombshell that broke all of boxing yesterday and is still breaking it today. Call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Please call in. I want to discuss this with you guys. I feel like this is such a monumental thing that we need to address, discuss, because it's not just PBC and Fox. It's not just PBC and Showtime. And even though that in a microcosm is massive, it's the entire sport. Like on a more of a macro sense, look at where the sport is at. We have upwards of 30 plus, near 40 plus events from PBC per year from Showtime and Fox. When we get to how big the Fox deal itself is, obviously we have the top-ranked ESPN deal, which is 54 events per year. We have the World Boxing Super Series and Matchroom USA and Matchroom UK with near 40 plus events, 50 plus events per year as well. We're looking at nearly 200, 300 boxing events per year at a high level on ESPN, Fox, Showtime, DAZN. That's a ton of action, let alone the UFC stuff, which is obviously its own, and MMA in and of itself, which is its own conglomerate and massive market. We have not been at this stage as a combat sport, as a culture, as a community, since the 1980s. The amount of boxing that's now going to be on the market in 2019, the amount of high-level athletes will be on primetime television. Some of them basic cable, some of them as big as ESPN, as big as Showtime, and DAZN seem like they're trying to do everything in their power to equal them. It is just, and plus all these fighters getting massive sums of money heading into 2019, 2020, 2021, etc. This is an age of the sport which I think we will look back on and say, this is the start of the second golden age. I truly believe that. When you look at the 60s to the 80s and how great of an era and run the sport had there, how massive it was culturally, significantly, obviously I think nothing will ever equal that. I truly believe that. But I also think this is going to come damn close. The next 10 years or so, next 20 years or so, is going to be a run of boxing that we will talk about forever. You know, boxing is back on basic cable and actually having to deal with them. Because we're going to get to, again, the Fox deal and a little bit of the differences here because some people don't understand how this is new. Boxing has not been on one of the big four with a mega deal like this, or any deal, since the 1980s, like I've said. Al Heyman, PBC, when they came out in 2015, this was all time by. You know, except for maybe CBS, but even then we don't know. NBC, Fox, etc. These have all been time buys. For the last 3 years, they have spent money on these events instead of receiving money from these networks. And to put it maybe in a comparison for more casual sporting fans to understand, the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, right? Obviously, the network that they are playing on pays the NFL, which obviously then in turn pays the players. That has been very different than what PBC has been doing with these major networks, these basic cable networks. He has paid them to be able to broadcast his product. So for 3 years, he has spent millions and millions as a way of a huge ad to these big four, CBS, NBC, Fox, and ABC, for those that do not know. And he leveraged it into a deal. So salute to him. I mean, for all the criticism PBC has gotten, and they probably still should get, especially this year, one we cannot make anymore is that they were not able to turn anything over. That these 3 years, all the money they spent on time buys was wasted. It isn't. They leveraged it into a Fox deal. And obviously that happening is a plethora of reasons and factors as to how he got this deal, but he got it. He did. When I think a lot of people doubt him, especially going into this year. And again, I think the criticism of PBC mismanaging these time buys and these slots on these basic cable networks is still true. Hopefully this network deal, though, changes that. Because, obviously, a few weeks ago we had Garcia, Easter on Showtime, and then the next week, Devin Alexander versus Andre Berto on Fox, Big Fox, right? So you went from 30 million homes to 200 million homes. And you put the worst fight on the 200 million homes. And I've criticized that strategy, which does seem kind of their overall strategy with Fox. And it still doesn't make sense to me. Other than it was not it didn't make monetary sense. Showtime was paying them to put on Garcia Easter. Fox would not pay them to put on Garcia Easter. So I understand it from a financial standpoint. And again, does that all matter anymore now? Because now they're going to get that money. They're going to get the check from Fox. So now they can afford to put Deontay Wilder, Shawn Porter, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, all these guys that have been the Charlos, all these guys that have been Showtime staple. They can now go to Fox and they can now afford it. Because now Fox is giving them the same amount of money as Showtime for more events. So they need these fighters. It's going to be interesting to see, again, how they organize it with Showtime and Fox and what goes on which. I'm assuming now that Fox is paying them, we're going to start seeing fights like Garcia Porter, which we're, again, going to preview later after all this big mega topic. That, in 2019, should be on Fox. That should be one of the Big Ten marquee events on primetime television, assuming. Now, obviously, I think this is probably the best time to talk about the pay-per-views and such. Could we start seeing more fights end up on pay-per-view because Fox has now alluded to that? I don't know. I think when you look at what promoters and network heads have said about pay-per-view in the last 3 years, they understand the risk of it. And not every fight is pay-per-view worthy. So are we also going to see Fox try to make PBC their UFC and put on 12 pay-per-views a year? No, we're not going to get that. I think that sort of criticism needs to be, that's just pure wild speculation. At most, I think we're going to get 3 or 4, and most likely, maybe 1. Maybe 2. Looking at Wilder Fury being on Showtime pay-per-view, now is it more likely to see, let's say, Earl Spence versus Mike Garcia as a Fox pay-per-view? I don't know. But again, I don't think we're going to see all of a sudden Danny Garcia be on pay-per-view all the time or Deontay Wilder be on pay-per-view all the time. Those are going to be one-offs. They will. You have 10 events a year to fill out on Big Fox that you're getting paid a lot of money to do. It's ridiculous if you don't put your best foot forward on that. It really is. I kind of understand it pre this deal. Going forward, makes no sense. Anthony Walker over at SureDog in the chat saying Fox making up for the UFC leaving in January. Plus, they have the WWE also. Yes. Fox definitely trying to fill up that UFC hole because I think UFC was such a major part, not only of Fox's overall sports broadcasting content, but Fox Sports 1 specifically was a lot of UFC content. It truly was, especially Fox Sports 2 as well. It was just reruns of UFC events all the time. I feel like now with PBC, they have a stable to where they can sort of offset that. And then obviously plus with the WWE, that helps tremendously as well. Again, I think this is a moment in the sport where obviously it's great for PBC. We should salute them, clap, award for them, whatever you want to do. But as a sport overall, we're in a level we haven't been in decades. In probably 40 years, we have not been anywhere near this. And I think in a macro sense, looking back on it, PBC with Fox and Showtime, Top Rank with ESPN, Matchroom World Boxing Super Series with DAZN, these massive mega deals all lead to a surging tide. And all these boats are rising. And I think as a sport, as consumers now, we're going to win out in the end. And I know we have Sky Sports fans in the chat. We have PBC fans in the chat. At this point in time, I think we should put those flags down and just realize that the sport overall is in a place that we've only hoped it could be. And now it is. So, pop the champagne bottles, light the joints, whatever you do. it's time to celebrate because we're going to have more boxing content than we could ever dream in 2019. When we would complain about fights that we would have to stream or fights we could never watch, fights that wouldn't get made, blah, 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 now we have everything I think we could really want, to be quite honest. And honestly, I've seen also this. So this is going to be the last sort of point I talk about with this, or sort of criticism I've seen out there, is that, boxing's so fragmented. Boxing's always been fragmented. Like, the paradigm has not really shifted in that way. The players may have shifted, but it really hasn't changed that much. Like, the World Boxing Super Series was a non-entity. Matchroom USA did not exist. Overall, UK cards, period, were not shown in the US. So 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, when it was just HBO and Showtime, the sport was still fragmented as much, I would say, now. Now we just get to see more. Now all of a sudden, it's been like a fucking veil has been lifted to the UK because now we can see it. That to me, that doesn't make it more fragmented, to be honest. You may think that, and whatever, that's a semantic argument, I would believe, but the amount of boxing we get to see, the amount of fights that are going to be produced, the amount of money that's going to be out there, big fights will get made. We will see them regardless with a legit stream or TV network. Like, the age of having to illegally stream fights because there is zero option on TV or online is gone. Like, obviously, you can still stream stuff if you want. If you don't want to pay DAZN or ESPN Plus, you can still stream stuff. But the age where Tevin Farmer versus Billy Dibb in Australia would just not get on HBO Showtime. That's over. The day and age where UK events had zero option of getting seen in the US is gone. It is. Showtime is streaming them on YouTube. DAZN is showing them. That age is gone. So that is a time to salute, time to rejoice, time to be happy. And again, speaking of times to be happy, this weekend, God, let's get into it. Because I gotta say, Garcia versus Shawn Porter is a fight that I have been debating in my head for months now. I see Larry in the chat. Larry from SanFan, please call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Love to hear your take on Garcia Porter, because I know you're taking Porter. I keep going back in this fight. I believe both guys have particular tools and styles to beat the other. I also think that neither guy has that clear technique or skill set to beat the other. Like with Thurman, he clearly had the footwork to frustrate Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia. I would say in this situation, the defensive moving boxer is not here, is not present. And those are usually the guys that give Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia the most issue. And that's just not present. Danny likes to do a lot of his work on the inside. So does Shawn Porter. They do it a little bit different ways, obviously, but both of their styles are predicated on them being on the inside and throwing in combination. Danny is a little more of a shoulder roll style on the inside, likes to slip shots, roll with them, while Shawn Porter is more the bruiser. He just has his head on your chest, and he's throwing blows to the body, blows up top. He's headbutting you. He's making you uncomfortable. Danny is a little more slick on the inside, a little more fundamental. His punching technique is a little more clean as well. I think that's kind of obvious. Shawn Porter has always been, critiqued as like the prototypical like NFL boxer, the great athlete that just kind of just runs in there a little bit, swarms his own work, unfortunately, or smothers his own work, I should say. And I will say this, Shawn Porter does have the slight marginal athletic advantage. Danny Garcia has this slight marginal boxing skill advantage, and it's close. It really is. I think this one's going to go down to a scorecard. It's possible that both guys get hurt and dropped in this fight. I think it's going to be fantastic to watch. I'm picking Danny Garcia. I know. I do see that he can get outworked and just roughed up by Shawn Porter and lose rounds that way, but I see Danny just being a little more cleaner on the inside. I see Shawn not being as effective on the inside, and that is what I keep falling to. That's the sort of foundational argument I keep running to in terms of this matchup, because everything else sort of cancels each other out, in my opinion. But Danny's actual punching technique is so much cleaner and fundamental than Shawn Porter. I think on the inside, he should be able to get his shots off a little bit better. And plus, Danny Garcia has actually done, I would say, better with guys on the inside than maybe a Shawn does. Again, I know it's maybe a little bit controversial of a pick. I think Shawn Porter is maybe the easier pick because we see Danny as a guy that is overrated, let's be honest. But I do think that we, in our sense, in our urgency to criticize Danny Garcia's flaws, I think we have now underrated him. And I think Shawn Porter's punching technique is just so sloppy. I really do. I think he's going to get pieced up on the inside enough to win rounds. And also, Anthony Walker making good points, and I think he'll stick to a game plan better than Porter. I actually want to talk about that specifically, so thank you for reminding me. Porter, to me, lacks proper game planning. Not that Kenny is a bad coach. I think Kenny does actually a really good job of teaching him tactics, individual tactics in boxing, whether it be how to throw particular punches in the clinch, what punches to avoid, how to avoid them. That stuff he is actually really good with. I've been in camp with them. I've been in Shawn Porter's camp with them. I've seen how Ken coaches him. That is something that he is just fundamentally amazing at. However, just from watching Shawn fight, I've never seen an overall strategy in his game. I've seen an overarching style in his game, but never a game plan. I've never seen that. Danny, on the other hand, not that he can use game plans, but again, his punching technique, I think, and just maybe overall IQ should help him in this matchup. It's one of those, it's a toss-up, in my opinion. It's 50-50. If you picked Shawn Porter, I'm not going to say you're ridiculous or you're out of line here. You're well within here right here. And let's be honest, the fans are going to win out in this one. that is for damn sure. Cannot wait for this fight on Showtime. And again, hopefully in 2019, the paradigm is these types of fights on Fox instead of Showtime. But briefly talking about some of the undercard, because there's a lot of guys here that I do want to sort of address. Yordenis Ugas in the co-main event against Cesar Berevino. Ugas should win this one clearly. He's also been lined up to potentially fight the winner of Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter. Mauricio Suleiman of the WBC has come out and said that the winner of this fight has two mandatories, one of them Thurman, and one of them probably Ugas. And he did mention this one, this name, which I want to just... I wish Mauricio Suleiman was here so I can talk to him about this. Andre Berto.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. So don't be surprised if we see Danny Garcia versus Andre Berto at the Barclays Center first quarter of 2019. Just saying, unfortunately. But Yordenis Ugas, a guy that, even though he arguably lost against Thomas Doleme, is a guy that's usually a pretty good fighter if he was able to win here in impressive fashion. Obviously, Keith Thurman is in no condition to fight at the top right now. And let's be honest, Keith Thurman is just not fighting. Ugas would be a respectable opponent in the meantime if you could not get a Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter winner against Earl Spence. If that cannot happen, Ugas, I'm okay with. Main event mark, Bomani, everyone's not happy about that Berto name. Again, don't send the shots at me, send the shots at the WBC. Just saying. Adam Monaki versus Charles Martin. I actually really like this heavyweight fight. Charles Martin, a guy that's actually won a couple fights since the Anthony Joshua loss, but it's always been out of the limelight. Here, actually going to be on Showtime against Adam Monaki, a guy that's undefeated. Obviously, being linked to Jarrell Miller and that sort of promotional... promoter's wet dream. That's probably a better way. Yes, pause on that. Yes. But Abernathy being connected to Jarrell Miller has definitely helped his career. If Charles Martin were to beat Abernathy, that'd be huge for him. That'd be a huge sort of bounce back win and name for him. Adam Wanaki fighting Charles Martin, a former champion, even though it's Charles Martin, means maybe something to a promoter. I don't know if it means anything to us fans. But again, it's just a fascinating fight to me. We're going to see where Charles Martin is really at heavyweight. And honestly, Adam Wanaki as well. We're going to see where he's at. Because if he struggles with Charles Martin, I think you're going to get a lot of criticism to Adam Wanaki. Moving on, Amanda Serrano versus Yamil Reneso. I believe this fight will not be shown on Showtime specifically, but will be streamed. Do not quote me on that. I believe that's how it's going to be structured. Rob saying, Matt, you're going through the Superfly card? That's hilarious. Amanda Serrano, though, should win out here pretty clearly, being one of the pound-for-pound best female boxers in the world. I don't know much about Yamila, to be quite honest, but Amanda Serrano is one of the best female fighters to ever live, in my opinion. So I am always down to see her fight. Some amazing prospects, though, on this card. Chris Cobra, a.k.a. Lil B-Hop, though I do believe he changed his nickname. That guy. If you have not seen Lil B-Hop, you are missing out. That guy, when we talk about Ryan Garcia, Lil B-Hop can come in here at featherweight and beat Ryan Garcia's lightweight's ass any day of the week and show him how to actually box. Chris Cobra is maybe one of the best fundamental boxers out of all the prospects right now. He may not have the power, in my opinion, but his technique is unreal. Sort of like Caleb Plant in a way that obviously Caleb Plant's not a power puncher, but his boxing technique and skill and athleticism makes up for it. Chris Colbert, to me, is a little bit better than that, just in my opinion. Terrell Williams on the card as well. Who else? Richard Hitchison on the card. Dylan Price. Some good prospects. And also Marcellus Wilder, after his first ever pro fight, making his second pro fight on this card as well. Salute to Marcellus Wilder. Really nice guy. When I met him in Deontay Wilder's camp, just a real down-to-earth guy that was just nice, humble. I know there's been a lot of talk about him, having issues with Dominic Brazil and such, and that creating issues with Deontay. But from what I've seen, I've always liked Marcellus Wilder as a person. Just from meeting him, being around him, he's a good guy. Maybe a little bit of a hothead with his brother, but that's just what guys do. Let's be honest. Moving on though to a earlier card in the day, Amir Khan versus Samuel Vargas. Obviously, a fight that Amir Khan should win in clear, outright fashion. Probably get a late finish, 7 to 9 round finish, TKO. Put on a boxing clinic as well. Not much to say about that other than going to be interesting to see what he can do after this. Can he get the Kell Brook fight? Can he get the Manny Pacquiao fight? That to me is fascinating. Also, Sam Egginton, Gamal Yaffe, Lewis Ritson on the card, and pretty much tune-ups in my opinion, but at least shout out to them. Lewis Ritson, undefeated guy that I know Rob is infatuated with, so shout out to Lewis Ritson, even though he's fighting a guy that is 10-7. But I get it, it's a quick tune-up. I understand. But speaking of UK news, it's unfortunate that we do have to talk about something very sad, guys. This is play the sad song again just because it deserves it. Tony Bellew's fight with Alexander Usyk, unlikely for 2018, says Eddie Hearn. And I also forgot, yes, the Amir Khan fight is live on DAZN, but I mentioned that on yesterday's show, I'm pretty sure. It's live on DAZN's Facebook and Twitter. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that, Rob. Anyways, digressing. Tony Bellew versus Alexander Usyk is now most likely not going to happen thanks to the WB fucking A. You know what? Turn your volume down because I'm gonna turn the gunshots up because they deserve it. Nigel, get him from the tower. God, this shit, man.
I want smoke.
This is so sad. The WB fucking A is striking again. Dennis Lebedev, a cruiserweight, legend's probably too hyperbolic, but he's former champion, vast veteran in the game, etc., etc. A guy that's fighting at heavyweight this weekend on Friday has now been ordered, because he is the WBA champion in recess, one of the 4 champions at cruiserweight the WBA has, that he has now been ordered to fight Alexander Usyk, and they have until October 6th or something like that to agree upon it. Again, shot to the WBA. Mendoza needs to get the fuck out of here now. This is ridiculous. This is. How has no one got in front of this motherfucker with the mic and a camera and put this shit on blast? How? How? Please. Please tell me how that's not possible. WBA, man. Yeah, I've seen so many people on social media, a lot of media members. I don't know if I say a lot of media members, but just a lot of people on social media, a lot of boxing, Twitter say it's time to ignore the WBA. And I was kind of like, okay, like we're going to arbitrarily care about the WBA's 3 champions, but the WBC silver champion, the diamond champion, the international continental belt champion, we don't give a fuck about those. Oh well, okay. So that's why I kind of didn't really care about it, didn't pay it too much mind, didn't really talk about it on this show. But we got to do something about these sanctioning bodies. Like, it's time that we as a media conglomerate, I'm not talking about you as the fans, because I think there's very little as you guys, the consumers, to do. It is definitely on the shoulders of people like me and others to hold this shit accountable. Why Dennis Lebedev, a guy that's only fought Terry Flanagan since losing, not Terry Flanagan, is it Mike Flanagan? I think it's Mike Flanagan. Because Terry Flanagan's at 140. I think it's Mike Flanagan. Anyways, fighting Mike Flanagan after Murat Gassi. I even really gave Murat Gassi a good fight. He has 1 fight since then. Fighting at heavyweight now. Has been out of the picture. Wasn't in the World Boxing Super Series when every cruiserweight in the world was. And now you're going to make him give the shot when we're about to get Tony Bellew versus Alexander Usyk. A big fight, which, let's be honest, the WBA, you will collect a bigger check from. You, the WBA, will collect a bigger fucking sanctioning fee off of Bellew Usyk than Usyk versus Lebedev. So why in the fucking world are you making Usyk versus Dennis Lebedev? I wonder why. Maybe to get a piece of that step-aside money? Maybe because Dennis Lebedev's managers or agents slipped you something? I don't know. But the idea that it was on the up and up is just fucking ludicrous. Larry, though, saying, of course, something consumers can do, don't buy the product. But, Larry, let's be honest, though. If you're going to boycott every WBA champion? Like, really? You're not going to watch Anthony Joshua fights? You're not going to watch Beterbiev fights? We're not going to watch Triple G fights? We're not going to watch Keith Thurman and Manny Pacquiao fights? Like, we're not going to do those things? Really? Like, we can't. That's not an option, in my opinion. We can, boycott maybe certain fights, etc. That's a little more of an isolated thing to do, but I don't think we can do that with a sanctioned body. I think the consumers just can't. I think it's on the media's job to actually investigate what the fuck is happening here. Because Dennis Lebedev, in no world, in no universe, should begin this shot at this point in time. Just shouldn't. There's zero reason as to why the WBA, in a room of just them, no outside influence whatsoever, is thinking, you know what? That Tony Bellew Usyk fight, which would be massive in the UK, it'd be pay-per-view, get a big sanctioning fee from it. Fuck that. We're going to make Usyk fight Lebedev and maybe get some nice Russian oligarch money and have the fight in Moscow. Let's do that. Huh? Because that's what it seems like to me, to be quite honest. But anyways, we're not going to get Tony Bellew versus Alexander Usyk. Fuck the WBA. And it's now on media and all of us right now to actually start investigating what the fuck's happening here. Because otherwise, this will keep happening. Situations like this continue to happen. It's just ridiculous. But moving on, because I'm just going to pop a fucking blood vessel if I keep talking about this. Let's talk about some good news. Still on UK topic. So good. World Boxing Super Series, and still sort of in the same realm. Ryan Burnett versus Nonito Donaire, and Josh Taylor versus Ryan Martin being eyed for a UK doubleheader. I am happy that that's happening, that they are putting these two UK fighters in the UK when they both should get the win. It has been talked about to be in Glasgow, Scotland, obviously where Josh Taylor's from. I think that probably makes the most sense. I think Josh Taylor seems like he's capturing something, whether that be the it factor or whatever it is. He seems to be trending a certain way over there in the UK. So putting him or putting this sort of doubleheader in his hometown makes sense to me, even though Ryan Burnett's probably the more established name, obviously, an actual champion. But Taylor, in my opinion, is probably going to be the bigger star out of the two. I feel like that's probably obvious. Like, we can look down maybe 5 years down the line and see when Taylor moves up to 147, Josh Taylor versus Josh Kelly being a big fight in the UK. I can see that. Ryan Burnett, I feel like this is his peak, and it's still because maybe the division, it's just not being, that division never being a money-making division. I feel like that's why you're seeing Taylor get the hometown nod. But again, love that they're already starting to roll out the schedule for this, because I can't wait. All these fights are fun to me. Even the ones I kind of am not too fond of, like even these two. Like, I have criticisms of both these matchups, but I'm so excited for it. Like, World Boxing Super Series has done a great job of capturing people outside the PBC market, the top-ranked market, and getting fighters that we care about. Larry, adding to it, Taylor can fight neck and neck with Prograis, in my opinion. Yeah, those two guys, I think, are going to be, one of them is going to be the guy at 140. And I think one of them is going to move on to 147 and not necessarily be the guy there, but be a player there. Maybe both would be a player at 147. I don't know. But definitely those two guys are something, are people to watch overall. Great talents. Moving on to some more news. Nicola Adams versus Isabel Milan, the WBO interim title. Nicola Adams, probably at this point being the second biggest female boxer in the UK right now, behind Katie Taylor. There's an argument for that. You know, her getting a sort of a WBO interim title. Nice to see. Not really much to talk about. Don't know her opponent, but huge fan of Nicole Adams. When I met her at the StubHub Center of the Triple G Vanessa Monter Rosen fight, she was super nice. So just want to give her that, sort of shout out right there. Also keeping with the UK topic, because it seems like there's a bunch of UK news. Chamberlain versus Watkins, a.k.a. Isaac Chamberlain versus Luke Watkins, is sort of in play for October 27th in London. Both guys having lost to Lawrence Okoli. So it's going to be interesting to see who sort of becomes the better out of the two losers in the sense. I'm not calling them losers, but two guys that lost to probably the best UK cruiserweight prospect / contender we have right now in Lawrence Okoli. This will determine who's the number 2 guy. And I always low-key kind of like those matchups and that storyline. It's always funny to me. Last boxing topic of the day. So if you want to call in and talk just boxing, call in right now, 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you are international and want to call in and talk about these topics, email me, mixcombatradio@gmail.com, and I give you that international call-in link absolutely free. But again, call in right now. I'll take your call before we head into MMA if you want. Rob saying hype for Superfly 3. Yeah, I don't have much to say about Superfly 3. Like, it is what it is. There's an HBO event this weekend, apparently. I won't be watching it live. So, yeah, that's my take on it. HBO is fucking dead, in my opinion. But Amir Khan, again, started talking about Amir Khan in his fight, saying no issue of facing Brooke. He said he'll come to 147. Interesting.
I want smoke.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that we don't get Manny Pacquiao on the zone and with Amir Khan. I think we're getting Amir Khan versus Kell Brook next year. I truly believe that is the next fight for both guys. Maybe one tune-up for each of them. But honestly, I just see that as happening, to be quite honest. That's really, now that Khan's saying, oh, I have no issue facing Brooke, it'd be interesting. Apparently Rob is saying, Matt, check your text. Hold up, because it's not popping up. Let's see what it is. Well, Rob, apparently whatever you sent me has been deleted. So I know that you apparently sent me some breaking news, but apparently that breaking news was not news. It was maybe some hashtag fake news, unfortunately. Because good old Michael Benson deleted it. But moving on, if you can find whatever you sent me, Rob, go ahead and send me it. Santiago pressing 1 apparently wanted to talk about this boxing event before we talk about the UFC event. Santiago, what is up?
Not much. Just here working and listening into your Wednesday preview show. It's kind of nice to see where PBC has come in the time since it first came onto the surface. Looking at all these different programming and shows and events that we'll be getting, kind of makes me wonder how some of the old timers from those time periods must be feeling nostalgic. Looking back like, hey, I remember when this was basically the norm back in my day. And so it's going to be nice to have all this boxing content available to us, and even some of the UK content that we would normally be like, oh, hey, you got a stream or something, so we can watch this. That's been one of the nagging things for any of those UK cards we've actually been interested in.
Agreed. I don't know much to say about the PBC on Fox anymore. What do you think about the Danny Garcia Shawn Porter fight?
I'm excited, and to be honest, I'm surprised that it wasn't even postponed. Like, the fact that it's literally fight week and nothing's happened, it's like, ooh, just wait till the bell rings. That's going to get your blood rushing just from the moment the bell sounds. And, it's a very fun style contrast between the two. I've actually always felt that Danny at times could fight well on the back foot, and I felt that both guys are going to complement each other well. I definitely think that Danny needs to approach this fight as if he were fighting Lucas Matisse all over again, because I can see Shawn Porter taking advantage of certain things Matisse didn't do in his fight, especially with that athleticism to help him out. But I am going to side with Danny on this one. I just think that his technique and his power is up to task with the physicality of Porter, and I feel that if not a decision, maybe a late round TKO stoppage in the 11th.
Yeah, I follow what you're saying. Meet you for a second, though, Santiago, and I'll bring you back on because we do have some more breaking news, because as per MCR tradition, there has to be some breaking major news on every fucking show. Per the Daily Mail in the UK, Las Vegas wins the fight to stage the box office clash between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder in December. Adding to this, again, the Daily Mail is alleging this. No press release has been sent out. This is all we have. And again, I do not know, how true this is, to be quite honest. But they're saying that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were split a purse 50-50 and take home around $15 million, $20 million each. So now we have an official purse. Not official. We have a purse announced. We have a location announced, and probably going to be at the T-Mobile Arena. Wow. So again, I'm going to go over to Santiago to maybe talk about this a little bit, but it seems, again, per the Daily Mail, I am not saying that I have this information. Las Vegas wins the fight to stage Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder in December specifically, and it's a 50-50 split around $20 million each. So let's go over to Santiago because I want to get his take on that.
Wow. I definitely hope that this is a sign that the fight is coming to fruition, even if it is only allegedly, because that'd be fun. I didn't like any of the talk where it looked like the fight might not be happening and whatnot. So hopefully this is a sign of good things to come. And in December, no less, that's a hell of a Christmas gift for us guys as fight fans.
Agreed. Anything else, Santiago?
I mean, not much. Really, the only event I'm looking forward to is the Showtime card. Your thoughts are the same as mine on the HBO card. That lost its luster just from the fact that neither Srisaket or Roman Gonzalez is on there. So I'm just kind of looking at that as like, maybe I'll record it. Maybe I won't.
Or
maybe
like,
I'll just watch it on demand.
Or even like Estrada's not on it. Like Inoue is not on it. Like Superfly was supposed to be built. I think it was supposed to be a vehicle towards building the Roman Gonzalez Inoue fight, and that just did not happen. Obviously.
I always felt like that's exactly what they were leading to, especially when Inoue did make his debut on HBO and whatnot. It always seemed like they were on a collision course, and then, well, we saw what ended up happening.
Agreed.
Inoue is in the World Boxing Super Series, and Roman Gonzalez is on the undercard of Canelo GGG2. So it'll be fun to see them fight, but for the most part, Superfly 3 is just another HBO card that neither of us are interested in. That's about it, man. Good show as always. Everyone hit like, support the show, sign up for Patreon to get a little extra content, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you later, Santiago. I hope you can make it for Saturday's live fight chat and a media reaction show, because obviously this one's too big. I'm probably going to do a double-header live fight chat and then its own immediate reaction show. We're going all out. It's UFC 228. It's Shawn Porter versus Danny Garcia. It's that fucking weekend. Let's get hyped. But let's move on to MMA news, because, again, this is very breaking news with the Fury-Wilder situation, the purse being talked about here, location. I want to wait till ESPN starts covering it. World Boxing News, Boxing News Online, those places I go to start really reporting on it. Hell, even like TBV, like they have the scoop on Wilder. Like I guarantee you, Rob's gonna hit me up eventually sometime today or tonight and tell me what was discussed between TBV and Deontay Wilder about this. But salute, man, if they're able to split $20 million each. And think about this: if you're Deontay Wilder, you're gonna get $15 million to fight Joshua. You're getting an extra $5 million to fight Tyson Fury, an easier fight. Why wouldn't you take that? And again, call in. I do want that smoke.
I want smoke.
323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you are international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get the international call-in link. Absolutely free. I'll check if anyone has emailed me right now. And look, no, because all of you international keyboard. Oh, actually, no. Hamza has emailed me. Hamza, I will send you the link right now. So actually, wait like 1 second as I, copy and paste and just meander my way over here to my email. Reply. Now, Hamza, when you get in this link, please be muted. Okay? If you have it on speakerphone or whatever, understand that the audio is going to feed back into the system. So please either have headphones in, lower the volume a little bit, whatever it may be. But Hamza just sent you that link so you can call in. Anyways, digressing. And Hamza, whenever you call in, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I'm going to start talking about the UFC card, UFC 228, because it is fantastic. I'm going to start from the sort of like the bottom. I'm going to talk about the fights that really don't matter because Hamza might be coming in right now. Actually, he did just come in. Hamza.
Can I unmute?
Yeah, you can unmute. What do you want to talk about, man?
Yeah, no, just thinking about the PBC deal with Fox and Showtime, 60 mil. Is 60 mil really a lot of money per year compared to?
It's 60 mil each, by the way.
That's 120 million. So like over 3 years, that's what 360 million. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of fights to put on. With 60 million a year. I'm thinking it might be too much. Like it's not enough money for the amount of fights that they need to put on. Like if you compare, he's got £1 billion over 3 years. and that's for 16 fights a year.
Well, Eddie Hearn only has around 5 million more, and again, these numbers aren't official with the PBC deal. Everyone's reporting that's over 60 million with each Showtime and Fox, so we don't know the exact number. But just for argument's sake, let's say Eddie and PBC have this around the same budget per year. One's 125 million, one's at least 120 million. They're putting on around the same amount of events.
Not really, because the half of the shows that are on DAZN, they're not part of that, because why? Sky Sports fights are already happening separate to that the DAZN money, you know. That's coming from Sky Sports.
But see, I believe part of the budget, and I don't know this for sure, but I think DAZN has to pay Sky Sports to be able to stream it. There's a licensing fee that's being paid to Sky Sports in order to stream it, in my opinion. Again, I do not know that for certain. I do not know that for certain. I will look that up for you, but I believe that's how it's done.
From what I understood, they had a deal where DAZN will show Sky Sports fights, and Sky Sports will show the DAZN fights.
But I would assume that's for a monetary fee. I don't think Sky Sports is giving out their content to another provider for free. Similar to let's say when Sky Sports has a AJ fight, Showtime has to pay to show that in the US.
No, because Sky Sports are getting DAZN fights. Like for example, Billy Joe Saunders, he's fighting on DAZN, but it's going to be shown on Sky Sports in the UK.
Yes.
So that's a big benefit for them.
Yes.
Because he's normally a BT sports fighter. So they're getting a BT sports fighter on Sky Sports because of DAZN.
Yeah, but there's a transfer of money between DAZN and Sky. I guarantee you there is. I guarantee you.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. No, that's just what I was thinking. And plus, I think with the money they have, they've got a lot more fights to put on.
Not more than Top Rank. Top Rank has much more with a smaller budget.
That's true. No,
with half the budget. With half the budget, they have to put on nearly twice as many events.
Yeah, the second thing I was thinking as well is, you know, like sometimes we think it's good for boxing, but with all this, like for example, like when you listen to Deontay Wilder, he sounds like he's just fed up of Eddie Hearn and he does not want to make any deals with Eddie Hearn, right? So maybe some of the fights that we want to see, because of, you know, the deeper politics, we might not get to see them.
I don't believe that for one reason, and it's the reason that Eddie Hearn has said. There is too much money at play here. Whether it's DAZN and the money they have, ESPN, the money they have, now Fox and Showtime, there is too much money here that wasn't here a year ago. Because you got to think about this. Showtime's budget a year ago was around 20-something million for boxing. Now it's 60 million. So they have tripled their budget. Fox went from getting paid by Al Heyman to now paying Al Heyman 60 million a year. Like, the game has changed. Like, it really has. Same with Eddie Hearn. Like, he is now getting a ton of money. Same with Bob Arum. The amount of budgets that's increased, there's too much money at play here that the fighters are going to want to take. Because even though, like you said, there is political divide, there's always been political divide. That paradigm has never changed. What has changed is that now everyone has more money. So guess what? They're going to be able to say, hey, Garcia, Lomachenko, we all have all this money. We're going to offer you this amount for this fight, this amount for this fight. You're going to have all these bidders. It's going to be a huge bidding war, in my opinion, for all these fights and all these fighters.
Yeah, what I wouldn't want to see is another, you know, Mayweather Pacquiao, which took ages to make. It just took ages to make that fight between HBO and Showtime.
And look, that might happen with, let's say, AJ Wilder, but I don't think that's about the networks as much. I truly don't think it's about the networks as much.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's just all what I want to say. But no, keep up the show. It's a really good show.
Thank you, Hamza. If you want, you can just click mute and listen this way, or you can, you know, leave this call and go listen on YouTube. Whatever it may be, I don't care. But thank you, Hamza, for the call. And this link is the same link for every show. So if you want to call in for the next show, whatever it may be, this is that same link. So maybe, you know, star the email, whatever it is, save it. So the next show, you will get to come on. Thank you, Hamza. But moving on, UFC 228, a fantastic card. Should I say fantastic? It's a fun card. It could have been a little bit better, but, you know, some people have fallen out, some people have gotten hurt, but there's some fights we're going to talk about. So let's sort of circle back. UFC 228. at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. And again, we're going to start a little bit from the bottom up. I'm not going to talk about every fight per se, but I will talk about most of the fights in some capacity. Jim Miller versus Alex White. I think Alex White should win this purely due to Jim Miller's age and wear and tear, and that's going to be maybe a thread throughout this card, perhaps, to be quite honest. Even though I think a prime Jim Miller is the better overall Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, some great Muay Thai as well. But I think of this in today's day and age, he doesn't have what it takes to beat an Alex White. Similar to Diego Sanchez versus Craig White. White should win that fight as well against Diego Sanchez for similar reasons. Diego Sanchez is faded beyond belief to the point where we are now concerned about his health. So those, for those two fights, definitely picking both Whites because they should win that. Craig White and Alex White should win their respective fights easily, in my opinion. Moving on, Jimmy Rivera versus John Dodson, a fantastic bantamweight matchup. Jimmy Rivera, just coming off a loss to Marlon Moraes via vicious KO in one round. John Dodson coming off a loss to Marlon Moraes as well, losing via split decision. I still think Jimmy Rivera, though, in this matchup in particular, should win. John Dodson has never really been a guy to actually have a game plan and utilize his natural athletic ability to its potential. Jimmy Rivera is still the bigger, stronger guy in here. He should be able to match John Dodson for wrestling, for grappling, and also his striking technique should be able to offset the speed of John Dodson as well. I'm picking Jimmy Rivera via either late, like submission, or most likely decision. It's most likely going to be a 30-27 scorecard for Jimmy Rivera. Aljamain Sterling versus Cody Stamann, a fight that I've been a little bit conflicted on. Aljamain Sterling is a guy that has always seemed to underperformed. A guy that, again, a little bit similar to maybe a John Dodson, insane athletic ability, never seeming to put it together in a cohesive game plan and strategy. Cody Stamann, a guy that doesn't have those athletic ability, but he's very good at, making it a grinding affair, pressing up against the cage, dirty boxing. He's pretty good at that. Can he do that here? I'm going to say no, though. I think Aljamain Sterling is going to win out here in a tight, close affair, probably a 29-28 scorecard each way. Anthony Walker saying too soon for Rivera to come back after that KO. I can probably agree with that, but I don't think John Dodson has the best power at 135. Maybe at 125 he has that power, but at 135, I don't see it. I just don't. But I definitely understand your sentiment about coming back after that sort of a KO. Definitely something to think about with that matchup. Carlos Esparza versus Tatiana Suarez. Similar to a Diego Sanchez and Jim Miller matchup, though not as apparent with Carlos Esparza. She's another fighter that's a little bit longer in the tooth, taking maybe too many shots. Her best days are behind her. Tatiana Suarez, while not being the most fantastic fighter, is a little bit more in her prime, a little bit more on it. Momentum is a little more on her side, those X factors. And Esparza never really being that great of an athlete. That's sort of my perception of that fight. Abdul Razak Hassan versus Nico Price. Nico Price should win this one handily, in my opinion. He's a guy that I've been counting out his entire UFC run. So from now on, I am not counting out Nico Price. I'm not. What he did to Randy Brown was downright fucking insane. So I'm betting the house on Nico Price to win via vicious knockout. Let's be honest. Moving on to a fight, I'm probably gonna break down a little bit more. Obviously, Carolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jessica Andrade, a fight that, man, I cannot wait for. One that I feel like is clearly style-wise in Andrade's favor. Kowalkiewicz loves to be at range, loves to fight at a certain pace that is beneficial to her, not somebody that throws in combination. Andrade is a mauler. She's somebody that will get in your face, throw heavy combinations, and get you out of there. And on top of that, has some really fantastic wrestling and submission skills. I believe she should win this one, if not via clear decision, probably within 3 rounds, maybe by sort of like a Don Cerrone style submission where she hurts Kowalkiewicz standing up, transitions to a takedown, takes the back, locks in that rear naked choke. It's going to be something along those lines. But Karakiewicz, again, is just a fighter that she has to be in the driving seat in her matchups. And against Andrade, you will not be in the driver's seat. You just naturally have to react to her. And I think Karakiewicz has always done a bad job of being the person that has to react, has to be on the defensive, in my opinion. She's always done very good at leading, at being at range, working her jab, her teep kicks. But anything on the inside, anything with a little bit of volume, she struggles with. Zabit Magomed-Sharipov versus Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis filling in for Yair Rodriguez. Really disappointing, in my opinion, that we don't get Yair Rodriguez versus Zabit Magomed-Sharipov. But Magomed-Sharipov is a fantastic, fantastic prospect, even though he is linked to Ali Abdelaziz in that whole criminal fucking racket, let's be honest. But Zabit is still a fucking phenom, let's be real. Even though I can critique sort of his connections, either via criminal organizations or business or political, he is a fantastic fighter. Like, it's really hard to criticize him as an athlete, him as a competitor. The Kyle Bonchik fight, or however you pronounce his last name, that was still, in my mind, one of the fight of the years. I know that might be a little bit more of a hipster pick, but that fight was insane to watch. It was all action. Cannot wait to see his beat back in it, even though he has some just darkness around him as a sort of outside competitor. Anthony making good points, saying better in the long run that year, and Zabit is delayed too soon for them to fight each other. Anthony probably at work, so he can't call in. Lame.
It's bullshit.
I agree, Usyk. It's bullshit. It is what it is. But I agree, Anthony, that it's probably in the better for the division, better for both fighters, probably, that this fight is delayed in a sense and pushed off maybe a year or two. Moving on to the co-main event, Nico Montana versus Valentina Shevchenko for the women's flyweight champion. Nico Montano winning it via the Ultimate Fighters season, defeating Roxanne Modafferi. This is one of those where the consensus is Nico Montana is going to get worked here. Oh, Anthony coming back with a great comeback. Saying the only thing lame is the lack of facial hair. That is true. Shots at me.
I want smoke.
Yo, Anthony, please tell me you've listened to the Joe Budden podcast. I know I'm getting off topic here. I apologize. I might touch a little bit on M versus Joe at the end of the show because, damn, that shit was hilarious. I'm still not done with the podcast, but that shit was hilarious to me. But anyways, Nico Montano, the consensus here is right. And the overwhelming consensus here is that she's about to get fed to Shevchenko in the worst way possible. Montano's a fighter that, A, does not really scream being an athlete, doesn't really have the striking chops to contend with Shevchenko in any way, shape, or form. Her grappling skills are, while decent, is not otherworldly, where you think that she could just out-grapple Shevchenko enough and not worry about the stand-up. That I think she's going to struggle for takedowns. And then as a result of that, she's definitely going to get pieced up standing up. Like, Shevchenko is going to knock her out viciously. And to be honest, Valentina is she's one of those fighters that really hasn't shown her best form, and I think that's mainly due to her level of competition in and out all the time. She has consistently fought just fantastic fighters in and out of the octagon and in Muay Thai, etc. Like, she's fought some of the best over and over again, and then that has made her look to be a little bit lesser than what she is. Quickly, Rob is saying, Matt, please confirm to Bay said that Fox are going to be doing pay-per-views. Yes, Fox are going to be doing pay-per-views per Fox's own press release. How many? We don't know. Anyways, Shevchenko, in my opinion, again, is probably going to get a finish here within 3 rounds. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be vicious, and it's going to be entertaining nonetheless. And we're going to sit here and go, that was a really bad idea to sort of make another champion out of the Ultimate Fighter season. Let's not do that anymore. That is not the best way to actually create a champion. But it is what it is, unfortunately. It's going to be interesting to see like a Joanne Calder versus Shevchenko fight down the line. Other matchups of that ilk, maybe Andrade versus Shevchenko matchup at 125. That would be interesting. But definitely this fight for Montano, it just seems like an uphill battle that no one can really climb. No faults on her own. She was put in here not necessarily to lose, but she was not put in a position to win. Moving on to the main event, Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. Another fight similar to Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter that I've just been really stressed about. I've been conflicted about. I can see it happening where Darren Till comes in here. He masters the range and he just pieces up Tyron Woodley. I can definitely see that. Obviously we've seen Woodley get knocked out. We've seen him get pieced up on the feet, a la Roy McDonald, which is a little more recent, a la Nate Marquardt, which is a little more in the past. But we've also seen Woodley doing insane things against probably better overall technical strikers like a Robbie Lawler. Woodley still has the insane knockout power, the insane athleticism, which is definitely better than Darren Till's, his insane wrestling ability. And to this day, we've really not seen Darren Till compete with a wrestler. His only blemish, that draw with Nicholas Dalby, who fought on the Cage Warriors card, by the way, last week, impressive knockout on that card, was mainly due to Darren Till gassing out in that third round. He had no energy left. Second round was close, and he definitely lost that third round. Woodley here has the better cardio. Better overall athlete. I can trust him in a 5-round affair. Even though he has had times where he has slipped in cardio, he still clearly has the cardio advantage in this matchup. Excuse me. And Darren Till, a guy that has an insane weight cut ahead of him this week. A guy that's even talked about how bad this weight cut is. A guy that's missed weight in his last fight. A guy that's already looking skeleton-like. And it's not even Friday yet. That, to me, is the reason why I'm picking Tyron Woodley. I'm picking him to win third or fourth round knockout. Probably more of a TKO than a KO. I think Till's going to get tired. I think Woodley's going to survive some pressure and some punishment maybe in the first or second round, and then going to up it and up his own pressure and take Darren Till down, work him over a little bit, and then just the faded, lacking complete energy, Darren Till is going to get hurt and finish. Maybe submitted, but I see Woodley actually hurting him and continuing to hurt him on the ground. I'm just saying Darren Till has more dog in him. We don't know that. What evidence do we have to show that he has more dog in him? We've never seen Darren Till come back from being hurt. We've never seen that. We've never seen him deal with a wrestler like Tyron Woodley. We've never seen him deal with an athlete like Tyron Woodley. We just haven't. We saw him fight Donald Cerrone, who is a blown-up lightweight, who's faded, who has trouble taking punishment and pressure. Then we saw him fight Stephen Thompson, who was style-made for Darren Till. The one guy that has more of a slow striking style than Darren Till is Stephen Thompson. Woodley is a guy that will not fight in the same pace and same rhythm at the same range that Darren Till is used to. And the one time we've seen Darren Till struggle, he did falter. He got a draw. He didn't lose, but he got a draw. And that was due to cardio issues. And now we have, on top of that, an insane weight cut that he has not been able to prove in his last couple fights. So, how can I trust that? I can't. I can't trust it. He's going to have to pull a Robert Whittaker and move up to 185 and actually maybe be better there. But Woodley at 170 against Till, I just don't see it happening. But this is MMA. And we all know Woodley versus Colby Covington is the fight to make. it's the fight that should have been pushed off to be made. And it's MMA. And if Darren Till comes in here and knocks out Tyron Woodley, sparks him out, and forever changes the welterweight landscape, would that be surprising? No, not really, to be quite honest. But I also just think that a lot of factors are against Darren Till to where logically I can't pick him here. I just cannot. Woodley should win this one again, 3rd or 4th round TKO, beating up a skeleton like Darren Till, to be quite honest. But moving on to some MMA news of the day, because this fight announcement, damn, it's amazing. Edson Barboza versus Dan Hooker booked for UFC on Fox 31.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Yo, I just from seeing this news, I got a contact high. I'll be honest. I did. This is, I've been thinking about Dan Hooker because, he seems to be all of a sudden clicking. His connection to Israel Adesanya is not hurting him as well because Israel Adesanya is trending like a motherfucker in MMA, and Dan Hooker is his best friend. And that helps. It really helps being the best friend of the most trending and probably the most meteoric rising star in MMA. You're the best friend of. That helps. And then on top of that, he's in his natural weight class at 155 instead of 145. He looks healthier. His technique is finally coming together as a complete fighter. I'm hyped at Dan Hooker. So I've been thinking, who should he fight next? He's wanted a top name. Could I see like Kevin Lee versus Ali Quinta, then Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker? But no, they gave me Edson Barboza versus Dan Hooker, in which I have to admit, I am perhaps more hyped for. I am. Dan Hooker, in my opinion, even though being a real complete fighter, his wrestling is underrated. His submission skills is pretty good as well. His striking is his go-to. And you have Edson Barboza, whose striking is his go-to. Both guys long, rangy kickers. God, this is going to be fantastic. Again, air horns. It's just all good news, man. And you know what? Where let me find this soundbite just for this occasion. Because, PBC on Fox deal, even though we're going to ignore the Tony Bellew, Alexander Usyk shit. Because, again, fuck the WBA. Am I right? UFC 228. Danny Garcia versus Shawn Porter. So much amazing stuff is happening today. On top of that, Edson Barboza versus Dan Hooker. Let's celebrate, guys. Yes. This is what I love about America. Not flags and, anthems. Nope, not Nike shoes even. Nah, it's amazing fights. So thank you for the universe to having all this happen. And we're not even done with the day. God, so much news. Jessica Rose Clark versus Andrea Lee being announced. Andrea Lee, obviously in connection with her boyfriend, husband, I forget the exact relationship, who is a former, air quotes, Nazi, who is now being searched by the police for domestic violence to Andrea Lee. I'm glad she's just getting back into the rhythm of fighting. And she kind of even said it herself that I just need to get back in fighting. Get all this negativity away from me. I think that's good. I think that's a good thing for her. Hopefully the police find that motherfucker. Because again, God, you put hands on a woman, get the fuck out of here. But moving on, again, just shout out to Andrea Lee because it could have easily happened to where this could have affected her so much, like mentally, emotionally, that she doesn't come back. And I'm glad that's not the case. Some more news and announcement. Gleison Tebow, who we obviously talked about, I think, maybe a couple weeks ago, not fighting in the UFC anymore, is now going to return on the undercard of Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 3, which is being promoted by Golden Boy MMA. Air horns? I don't know. I like Gleison Tebow. I've always been a fan. I know there's people saying, it's, washed UFC fighter event. Yeah, and look at Bellator. They're promoting Fedor Emelianenko versus Chael Sonnen. Like, it's a mega fight. That's the second biggest MMA promotion in the world. And they're promoting Fedor Emelianenko versus Chael Sonnen in in 2018. Think about that. So let's just be honest here. Most of MMA outside of the UFC is watched UFC fighters fighting. Am I mad that Golden Boy's getting the business of it? Not really, to be quite fair and honest to them. Everyone else is doing it. You know, we applaud Steven Coker for doing it at Bellator and changing that company around. Why would we criticize Golden Boy? That makes no sense. And last sort of news or topic of the day is a dramatic reading. Yes. I know Anthony is listening at work right now saying, man, I need a dramatic reading from Matt. It's here, man. It's here. And it may be the best one yet. Per Jed Meshew, I know I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but Jed's just a great guy. At the Morning Report over at MMA Fighting, reporting on this story of Michael Bisping and Dominic Cruz discuss nearly coming to blows at a bar. What? Like, at a bar? Interesting. So, you know.
Come on, don't be scared, homie.
Oh, calm down there. Calm down there, Nick. But let me read this story because it is, oh, God, it's so good. It is amazing. Yes, dramatic music is back. Dominic Cruz and Michael Bisping. Obviously, if you do not know, they have been Fox Sports analysts for a long time. Seemingly, I would say, good friends as well. But let's, I'm going to read you this little quote here. From Michael Bisping. I've worked with Dominic for a long time over at Fox. Now at the UFC as well. Good dude. Great guy. Great guy. But me and Dominic have this weird love-hate relationship. There's been several times where me and Dominic, after we've worked at Fox, we've gone for a couple drinks together. He legit, and you gotta love him for this, he legit thinks he can kick my ass. And every time we get into a slight difference, because Dominic's very opinionated, we often differ on opinions. And he wants to get physical. He wants to throw down. He does this all the time. We were once out in Hollywood. I can't remember. We had many shots of tequila, as did I. And something happened. He was like, you want to punch me right now, don't you? You want to punch me? It was like that scene in Step Brothers. And I'm like, no. He says, go on, motherfucker. Swing a shot. By the time you swing on me, I'll have hit you in the face 6 or 7 times. You won't be able to touch me. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Dominic? I'm not going to punch you. And then my older brother, who had just got off a plane from England, who was very inebriated due to the tequila and the flight, he's like, whoa, stop. Don't fight. That's just an average night out with Dominic and I. That's an average night. So I instantly saw that article, and I instantly thought to myself, I have to talk about this. I have to address this topic on the show because, first off, and Anthony, I wish you can call in because you probably have more, one-on-one time. Or not one-on-one time, just personal experience with Dominic Cruz. This is such a Dominic Cruz story that it's nearly perfect. Like, this is the perfect Dominic Cruz story. This encapsulates Dominic Cruz so much. But yeah, shout out to Dominic Cruz and Michael Bisping. Shout out to everyone that's breaking news, making fights, and everything like that in the box MMA world. But it seems like it's that time of the day. And Anthony, I know I said I was going to talk about Eminem versus Joe Budden, but I actually really want to go listen to the podcast and finish it up, to be quite honest. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Another daily edition of the show. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Help support the show. Be back, obviously, tomorrow, live, as always, 10 p.m. in the UK, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. in the Pacific time. Yeah, Matt Hunter MCR, all platforms for me. Hipsters here, haters beware.
I want smoke.
You know how it is. And obviously, Mixed Hammer Radio, all platforms. Peace. Have a good one.